Hey everyone, good morning, and welcome to the Character Animator Character Chat Live. My name is Dave Warner. I'm a designer with the Adobe Character Animator team, and I'm joined, as always, being our first time and maybe the only time we do this, who knows, with my coworker Dan Ramirez. What's up, Dan?
Hey, Dave. It's me, Dan, as always.
It is Dan. What do you do for the Character Animator team? I've always wondered that. What do
So,
you do?
yeah, what actually do you do? So I'm a quality engineer, a tester for Character Animator, so I tend to try and make sure things are working so the developers work on the features and I test them to make sure they work. So anytime like when you blink the whole thing collapses in on itself or like folds itself upside down, you're like Dan did not finish his job.
No worries. No, Dan is a vital member of the team, and he's also the voice of a lot of my cartoon characters. So in the consoles cartoons, he's the Xbox character,
It's
and
true.
Evan Flamethrower, he was Hackbot 8000, 3000, I forget Hackbot something, and Mr. ATM, which was great. So man of many talents. Yeah, it's I know I can always count on Dan to give me a crazy voice. Uh, Awesome. Okay, so yeah, we got a ton of people coming in before in the pre-show. People were just saying where they were from. There's people all over the world, which is awesome. It's so cool to see character animator fans, the community, kind of everywhere, and that's great. And we're happy you're here and happy you enjoy the product. It's something that we see day in and day out and work hard on, and are making sure we try to make it the best it can be. But it's always reassuring when people say, "Hey, I'm using Character Animator," and it's using it in all sorts of different things. So yeah, really cool. Day One Fitness is saying, Dan, do you do consulting?
I don't, but if you can get a hold of me, I might answer your questions for free.
There you go. So yeah. Dan's. I think Dan, didn't you have a business card that said like Puppet Doctor or something like that at some point?
Yeah, I think it was Puppet Doctor. But then I really missed the chance to have Master of Puppets.
True. That would have been better. Who could say they put that on their business card? That's a miss out there. Cool. So we're hearing from Mumbai, from North Carolina, from the Philippines. So cool. Pakistan. Um, this is awesome. Cool. So I'm going to start off just showing, one of the features we showed recently in the most recent video was in beta a couple weeks ago. We added this thing called Motion Library, and this is an incredibly cool feature that allows you to do all sorts of cool things with your character. So if your character is rigged for body tracking, essentially, usually up here in this upper part is where I do most of my behaviors. This is where most of your pre-made behaviors show up. But if you have body, limb IK, and motion library up here, then you're good to go. That should be the basics. And then you got to just make sure your character is tagged for body tracking, which you can watch the body tracker tutorial to know about that, like where your head is, where your arms are, all sorts of stuff like that. And if all those things are correct, then when you move into a scene, so I've got my character here and doing the basic movements, but if I go into motion library, I've got all these different things that I can start to add to my character. So if I want a dance move, I usually start with breakdancing up rock. That's my go-to first one. Has a nice little like getting ready to breakdance type of movement. And you'll notice that my eyes and my eyebrows are still moving, but the other parts are controlled by this animation. And so if I turn down tracked handles, I can see all the things that are being tracked down here by that animation. Now I can turn some of that off. For example, if I want my head to be tracked by me, I could do that. Now that looks a little weird because he's kind of floating like a balloon, so that's not the best. But you could do that as a separate pass or other things like that. So there's a lot of different things you can try there. But this kind of opens up the door. And then to really easily move between different moves, you can just click these little buttons, and they're going to take you through all the different moves. So there's some interesting ones. Here's the chicken dance. And you can change the orientation of your character, which is basically which direction are they facing. So this is a front-facing character, so for most of it, the front-facing view should be working okay. But if your character is a three-quarter view, then, here's my favorite, Gangnam Style. Okay, so he starts, hey. Oh, Open Gangnam Style. There we go. And now he does a little dance like that. Awesome. So that's a good one to find. Hip hop dance. This is another good one. A lot of different ones here. I think there's like 10 of these that you can kind of go through. And so this is really helpful because what it allows you to do is create these things, motions for your character that you normally, like if I tried to body track this, or if I tried to, dragger this or anything like that, or even keyframe it in other apps like After Effects, this would be pretty difficult to put together. But this just brings a lot of these and makes them a lot easier to work. So we got a lot of fun stuff we can play around with. And then if I want to record one of these, the best way to do it is just click this record one motion. That records it down here in the timeline. I'm going to turn this off, and now if I play this back, oh, you know what? I have to. Sorry, I don't even know how to use my own app. You turn this off. You want to turn this to see the actual recording data, and there you go. Now I can see that in instance. And even if I drag this a little bit longer, it's still going to go because it's in kind of a looping animation. And I could then set this into a trigger if I wanted to. If I select this, right-click it, let's create replay and trigger. I can go over here. I see that this is set to stop sustain, which I want. And then let's say this is just the one key that I do, and I latch it. And so now, if I turn my character back on, now it's regular. Now he's just moving around like normal. But when I press the one key, so let me press that, now he's going to move into his dance like that. And when I press one again, he's going to go back to his normal move. So this is a really easy way to add a ton of versatile triggers to your character. And that's the coolest part. Dan, what you've been playing a lot about, like, troubleshooting a lot of these puppets and seeing, what you can and can't do. Any tips or anything that, you're seeing with how these puppets work, best practices or anything like that?
Yeah, good question. Excuse me. One thing I actually love about this feature is it kind of provides you a framework for finding out if your puppet will just work at all, right? So like you build your puppet and then you drag the arm and the shoulder kind of looks weird and then you try and fix that. Well, if you just add motion library, which you need lim.ik and the body behavior and motion library all at the same level in your puppet. And then let's say you pick the jumping jacks motion. If it looks messed up, you have like some rigging work to do. So jumping jacks is the motion to me that looks like the best with the most puppets. It seems like a very forgivable motion. But yeah, I really love it just as a way to verify that the puppet is kind of able to animate.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I think you try a puppet and then you don't know until you actually put it in the record mode how it's working. And then, yeah, this is like a great test of the legs, of the arms, of the head, like see everything and see if it's working together in tandem. This is a great, I forgot about jumping jacks. This is a great one. Let's see. So I've seen a few questions come in. Someone was asking, how would you do these for a live stream? It's the exact same way you would do it for anything else, right? So I would have, like if this is my character, we do have a stream workspace that you can use and go into here, and you've got your potential controls here if you wanted to. But record is basically the same. It's just you don't really care about the timeline as much. And then you can just say, okay, I'm gonna, let's change this to here, to off. And now, if I wanted to do that dance move that I originally triggered to 1, I would just say, okay, press 1, and my character starts dancing, and then press it again, and they stop. Now, you could add blends to this. I didn't add blends to this. I should have done that before creating the trigger, just by dragging these little handles here, and then it would blend in and out a little bit nicer. So right now, when I press it, it's a very, quick change. It's not looking any easing, any gradual blend in and out. But this is, this seems to be, if you really wanted to do it, I would make a bunch of these that blend together. And then, maybe you even have a default that's one of these idle ones, like Breathe 2 is one that I go to a lot. It's just the character kind of moving up and down, breathing, and then you can move into your different, in and out of your different poses. So yeah, it's fun. Let's see. Can you put 2 motion puppets in the same scene? Yeah, you can put as many puppets into a scene as you want. So for example, I've got this other character here, Friday. I'll just drag her in. Oh, she's got a background. That's right. So let me move her behind and move this guy to the side over here. I'm just using transform, position X. Let's move him. There we go. So now I've got 2. And if I selected them both, I can move them both at the same time. And if I had her motion library working, I could, set her up. So let's get them both dancing, actually. Let's do dance. Let's do this dance. There we go. And let's get this guy going. And he's going to do, actually, I like the jumping jacks. I'm going to have him do the jumping jacks. So we'll go there. And now we've got our two characters going together, doing their ridiculous dancing and jumping jacks. So yeah, the problem is Character Animator is looking for one video input, face webcam input, and one audio input at a time. And so right now, both characters are following my eye movements, my head movements, if that was not part of the motion library, my voice. This simple guy doesn't even have a moving mouth, but the woman on the right does. So yeah, it's pretty limited in what you can do, but you could record two characters individually. So let's say I just want to record him first, do his recording, and then I move to her and do her recording, and back and forth and that sort of thing. And that's a really easy way to get a 2-character setup. Dan, you've been answering a few questions in the chat. Anything coming up that is worth sharing here?
Yeah, so, excuse me, one thing I noticed, I saw somebody saying the feet were squishy or something like that, and that's something you can run into. You may want to turn off ground detection within LimIK for certain puppets in certain scenarios. I know there's some other ways that can happen, but that's one of the more obvious ways. Gosh, I had a great tip that just lost my mind. But one thing that's really cool is, that's what it was. So if you've used our walk behavior before, it's really great in many ways, but there's some fundamental issues that make it hard to work with. And the motion library has a library of walks within it, and it communicates with the rest of Character Animator in a better way. So if you have a standing character with feet pointing both directions and you want to walk, you could trigger like different artwork for the foot, blend that into a motion, and it's a little more of a seamless experience. So if you haven't used Motion Library, just know it could actually be a replacement for the walk behavior too.
Yeah, that's a really good question, or good point. Yeah, I agree, we do have the walk behavior, but this is actually probably a more versatile way to do it if you really wanted to. So I've got my character walking. Instead of reset at loop, I might want to set it to either continuous, which she'll just walk off the screen, but that's if you want a character to actually walk and stop, that's probably how you would do it. And then treadmill is just going to keep them in place. And if you did something like this is a pretty common thing in cartoons where the character is centered and then the background moves. So you could either add a transform behavior to the background and keyframe it to move to the side, or if you bring this into Premiere Pro or After Effects, you could just keep this as a transparent background and then just do that kind of stuff in After Effects or Premiere to give the illusion of walking around. AJIC is asking, how do I add videos for my character's backgrounds? It's imported from a video file I have. So Character Animator doesn't allow for backgrounds for videos right now. It's a little bit too compute intensive for a lot of this stuff. And so if we go back to this scene, let me take out her dancing and move him. So we've got here, let me go back to the transform behavior and get him back where he was normally. Okay. So right now, this background is in our, we recently redid the background. So we recently added a bunch of these in-app backgrounds that you can play around with. So the defaults for that used to be here are still up here. And what these mean are, these are still transparent. So if you brought this into Premiere or After Effects using Dynamic Link, or you went to File, Export, PNG sequence and wave, that's another great way you can do it. And that's a format that's going to work for a lot of different programs, not just After Effects and Premiere. Then this is going to be transparent. This is going to be an alpha channel essentially. And so you can do whatever you want over top of it. All 4 of these instances are going to do that when you export it out. But we also have all these other built-in backgrounds that you can use as well. And a lot of these were taken from our new starter mode thing that we've added into the app, which is a really easy way to get started with things. But there's a really nice diversity of things you can do. And you might have to reposition your character, right, depending on the background. But I love these. These are, some really nice environments because, adding a background, you kind of want your character to be grounded in something, and that helps. But to answer your original question, for video stuff, you would want to do that in Premiere Pro or After Effects. We have several tutorials on our tutorial channel that talk about that and bringing your characters in. For me, a lot of the time, I'm just doing my character animation inside Character Animator with a transparent background, and then I will composite everything together in Premiere or After Effects. I'll add foreground, background, music, sound effects, credits, titles, all that stuff, because those tools are more used for that kind of compositing stuff. Character Animator is best for the character animation. It doesn't mean you can't do some of that stuff in here. We've seen a lot of people who have been really creative and can do that. We have a camera system. You could have titles that slide in and out. But I personally find it easier to do that in other programs. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah,
so one thing, we had a question on forward walking, and that's something that Motion Library now supports. And the really cool thing is Motion Library doesn't care what direction your artwork is. So if you have a 3/4 view puppet and you choose walk 1, it's going to, walk in the way you expect. But if it's a frontal puppet, we know the orientation of your puppet. So then it should be a frontal walk. You might want to have artwork that has your toes facing forward, unlike, say, the character on the screen right now. But it's pretty awesome. You now have a front-facing walk in Character Animator, which is something people have been asking for a really long time.
Yeah, that is a really good point. A lot of people, we never really had that, right? You'd have to do like a cycle layers thing or something like that. The walk behavior of old, you could only do, really left to right type movement. But now I just took walk 1. I set this instead of continuous to treadmill like that. And I changed the orientation slightly to make the feet look like they're, now which way did I go? Like this, there we go. To like 42 or something like that. And now the character looks like he's moving forward. Now I agree, I would probably make the feet not look to the side like they are now. I would make them a little bit more squished in to look like the shoes were facing forward or the feet. But this is a great way to achieve a walk. And then again, in something like After Effects or Premiere or even in Character Animator, have a background and then scale it in certain ways, either back or, you have certain things like posts or trees or stuff like that make it feel, again, give the illusion that the character is walking through something. So yeah, this was kind of a happy accident. I don't think any of us thought this was going to be, a side product when we first saw the idea of Motion Library, but now that it's in, it's like, it's great. You can kind of play around with all these things and hack them to do, there's a whole fight thing you could do. You can make, characters do these crazy fight moves. There's just a ton of fun stuff to play with. So I think dance is the easiest one to show. But as you get into it more and play around with it, you'll just see, you can tweak things to get some really nice, even some really subtle animations. One thing you can do is turn the speed down, so I can make this a lot slower. And that's for like the idle animations too. If you think the breathing's too fast, you could slow it down and make it feel a little bit more subtle. You don't always have to be so over the top about, some of these things. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much Motion Library, the basics of it. Again, this is in beta, and we would love to hear your feedback about it. So please check it out. The video is on the YouTube channel, and then there's a link to the webpage that goes to Motion Library where you can learn more about it, download free example puppets to use, and just play around with it and give us feedback to keep making it better, because the hope is that we get this out into the shipping release of Character Animator hopefully pretty soon. We're really excited about getting out there to even more people. So yeah. All right. So yeah. We'll just kind of take some chat questions now for a little bit, and then I'll jump back into Puppet Maker. Let's see. Okay, Dungeon Delves is saying, I stream tabletop games with Character Animator. Currently, I have my players use OBS virtual camera with a green screen, but is there a better way to stream characters from different locations? I've definitely heard of people doing that, the green screen method, for sure. That's probably a pretty easy way as long as you know your way around keying and stuff like that. But Dan, you can do stuff with NDI and some other stuff, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. If this is just about streaming for a tabletop game situation, I played Dungeons and Dragons during the pandemic and got really into the idea of really trying to go overboard with Character Animator. But I ended up not doing it. But yeah, you can have like a hit point stuff up. You can
Oh
use it for
yeah.
basically like triggering live graphics, right? Or you could have animated characters. But there's kind of no end to what you can do because it's anything you can put in Photoshop and you can trigger.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, yeah, I think there's a bunch of ways that people have done it. So, I know that like when I've done some like cartoon live streams for some different people like digital puppets, and when I do that, I'm usually have my character with a green screen, and they just key it out in whatever streaming software they're using. So that's probably the most easy thing to do without having to worry about this plugin and that. But you can get those like green screen effects, the fringe on the side sometimes, and things like that, depending on what's happening. So I think it depends on kind of your setup and how professional you want it to be. Um, let's see. Okay. Bite Night is saying, as a beginner, which one is better for cartooning, Character Animate or Adobe Animate? I see them as two different tools in the animation toolbox. I see like After Effects is another tool, and sometimes you need a screwdriver, sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a power drill. And so I think each of these kind of serve their own purpose as well. For me personally, I think, and I'm biased obviously, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I think Character Animator is the easiest animation program I've personally ever used, particularly now with starter mode. I think that is the easiest kind of way to get your foot in the door with these sort of things. And then we have so many free example puppets, so many things that, we take care of a lot of those steps for you. Puppet Maker, the rigging process, the character creation process. And then from there, I think those are the type of things where as you learn about the basics in Character Animator, I think then that's a great stepping off point to move into Adobe Animate or into After Effects, which are both great animation tools that I still use, in their own right. So, yeah, that's the way I would personally look at it. I think they're all fantastic tools, and I think it just matters, what works best for you. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Someone else was saying, okay, Dave, how do you choose Photoshop versus Illustrator for a brand new character? Really, it's your personal preference. There's really no major difference between the two. Illustrator does allow you to do vector characters and be able to, zoom them up and make them look good no matter what the scale is. But to me, you can get just as good if you're doing like a basic HD video, let's say 1920 by 1080. Then you just make your character like a little bit bigger in Photoshop, big enough for like a close-up shot, and then you're good. And that's not really a major issue. So for me personally, it really depends on the type of character I'm creating. So if it's something like Red Monster here, he was created, I think he's actually a Photoshop file now, but he started in Illustrator, I think, because it was just easier. He's made of just really simple basic shapes, right? Oh yeah, he's over here too. And he's apparently multiplying now that I have Big Red Monster and Little Red Monster. So I don't know what's happening over there. If you come back in 5 live streams, there may be 20 of them back there. But yeah, so simple flat shade, cell shaded type character, I'd probably go with Illustrator personally, because that's just easier with the pen tool and shapes and Pathfinder and all of that. But for like Evan Flamethrower or some of my robot characters for the console series, those are really detailed, hyper detailed characters, and I have like metallic textures over top of them. And yeah, you can do some of that in Illustrator, but for me personally, I feel like I'm more at home with that type of stuff in Photoshop. So I would say it's really your personal preference. There's no real, no reason to say, yes, this is the right way or the other. They both work. And I think when we look at stats, it's pretty evenly split. I think Illustrator has a slight edge over top of Photoshop, but it's pretty close. So we support both workflows, the same. Let's see. Someone was asking about community spotlights. Yeah, so you know what? I've got this big Google Doc filled with like 30 different things I want to put on a community spotlight, and it has just been a matter of time. I've really wanted to put together a new video, and it's just been difficult. We've been so busy making stuff that it's been difficult to find the time. I promise before the end of the year I will get a new community spotlight out, because I love those too. I think they're really inspirational for everyone to see kind of who's pushing the limits of Character Animator and all the cool stuff they're doing. People doing stuff for broadcast, for live streams, for all sorts of different things. It's really impressive. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. So expect a supersized community spotlight in the future for sure. We'll definitely have something like that. Let's see. James Dean is asking, will Character Animator ever get an iPad version now that the iPad has more RAM comparable to a Mac now? Nothing to announce today. Sorry, you're not going to get a hot scoop on a live stream. But I think, there's a lot of possibilities there with the, same like an iPad or a phone is great because it's got the camera already built in, right? And mic and all that stuff. So you can imagine a scenario where something that works on a mobile device or a tablet or something like that would be awesome. Again, we don't have anything to announce today. I think the desktop is kind of the where we've obviously been focusing, but that's not to say it couldn't happen in the future. And I think as you see kind of what starter mode is doing in the beginnings of making things a little bit more friendly, it's not too hard to imagine that interface living in other places in the future. So fingers crossed, that would be awesome if that happens, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, great point. Let's see.
So I do see, excuse me, a request for quadruped movements, or it's mentioning animal motions like walk, bark, scratch.
Yep.
Cartoon Animator 4 has these. So this is Motion Library is in beta right now, and we're focused on bipeds right now, which is the dancing and the walking for like humanoid characters. But we've definitely had requests for people wanting birds and alligators and like very cool stuff for a long time. So I suspect that we're going to want to clean up and finish our human work. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something people want. And if you look at cartoons, like a large number of things are not just like regular people. So
yeah.
Consider your request heard.
Yep. And if you go to that intro to rigging video that I did a while back, there is a character in there that is basically a stick figure version of a quadruped. And it's a little bit of a hack, right? You've got to add 2 walk behaviors to it and do some things. And I don't think it's going to work with Motion Library at all. That would be weird. I don't think your head's probably going to fall off, or the legs will go one way and the body will go another way. But at least that gives you the beginnings of how you could do something like that, and then play around with it. I every week someone shows me something or sends me something, or I see on the forums or Twitter or Instagram where someone has hacked Character Animator to do something I had no idea was possible, right? Like people are just doing things with parallax, with shadows, with like just crazy stuff that again I hope to be able to show in a future community spotlight. So we don't have all the answers, and so I think because we're still a relatively new product, you can play around with it and see what works and try to come up with new ideas if we haven't had the time to implement it yet. So yeah. Lemon Top says lemons, and that looks like your lemon character, Dan. One of the starter characters that we have that you can from Puppet Maker. That's awesome. I think I've seen Lemon Top. I think I've seen your channel actually, if I remember correctly. NO is saying, is it possible to transform something up and down and right and left with voice? Can you do any of that with Layer Picker? I know Layer Picker has Layer Picker is one of those hidden behaviors that hasn't really been featured and not a lot of people know about, but it's actually one of the most powerful secret weapons of Character Animator, because it does allow you to do things like have things change with your jaw movement or with your voice amplitude or things like that. I'm not sure if that would work really well for having a character. Like you can't say like move left and the character's going to move left like that. But you may be able to play around with it and have a way to kind of move between. I don't know. Probably not right now, but there might be some things to play around with there.
So I see one question. It is, what is it? Any hopes of changing, adapting, or customizing the pre-made animation, like change only the left arm position during a dance? So this is something that was actually really difficult in the walk behavior, in that, the walk behavior had the hands going like this, and if you wanted to control it with the mouse, it was difficult and you'd be fighting the behavior. Inside the motion library behavior, there's checkboxes for each handle that it controls. So you could uncheck left wrist, and then now the animation is going to be coming from somewhere else. So, you know, if you want the character to walk with the arms down, that's how you do it. But in that case, after you've unchecked it, now you have the ability to animate that that handle with any other behavior in the program.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Cool. Oh, Digital Puppets is saying Layer Picker is amazing. Yep, they would know. So
I actually wrote the initial Layer Picker, and then Jeff Almasal, another tester, took it into a completely different realm, and it does way more than it ever did. But that was my little one addition to the behaviors in the program.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's funny, those behaviors, people will just like, we have these, excuse me, innovation weeks here at Adobe where you kind of get to do whatever you want for a week, kind of explore something new. And that's the type of thing where people have like, I'm going to try to make a behavior and figure it out. And that's something that we've seen them do. I think for a long time, we've said we want that to be an API in the future that's totally open and let anyone be able to create their own behaviors, excuse me, and add them to the app. But yeah, it's funny to see that's how some of them have come up. And there's some unreleased behaviors that have been notoriously unreleased for a long time. And that's okay. Maybe one day they'll see the light of day. Yeah. So I'm going to take a break, switch over back to the screen sharing here. And I'm going to show some of the new Puppet Maker puppets that we have. So this one was just released yesterday. This is Frankie. And she is a free puppet. She's not built into the app like a lot of these puppets. But if you go ahead and click See More up here, this is going to take you to our Puppet Maker webpage. And you're going to be able to see a lot of new characters there that you can download. And that's including this one, Frankie, who is a great looking character. And if you click Randomize, you'll really quickly get a sense of all the awesome stuff that you can do with them. Lots of awesome looking characters. And I love this because you can actually like put the hands here, and then as you move back and forth, they're kind of like resting in place. And it gives a really nice like fixed position there, which is cool. And then, yeah, a really wide variety of characters. Excuse me. But, and then the best part about this though is down here. They've got a lot of great interactions in this play area. So being angry or shocked at something, or, you know, different things like that, gestures. But I love that you've got an armchair that can recline. Look at that. That is an awesome little cycle layers animation or transform that's happening there. Really cool. And then you've also got the ability to change to, what is it, a wheelchair, right? I believe. And I don't think you want to be slanted in that one, but you do have this wheel spinning animation that's involved with that as well. So yeah, just a really cool sitting character. I think it's nice to see, like, people ask sometimes, how could I do a character that sits down that isn't always standing up? And I think this is going to be a great example of that. Oops, I got to change back to the yeah, it looks weird if you try to do the rotation when they don't have the thing on, but that's okay. Something like that works pretty well. So yeah, so that one again is called Frankie. And then I'm going to move over to Salem. Excuse me. Salem, this is an awesome character. This is like a witch character that has a bunch of just great looks to them. So again, you were talking about the Dungeons and Dragons live stream. I could definitely see doing something like this, or putting your characters together. And okay, here's your mage character, here's your warrior, your barbarian, whatever, and put them, really quickly. A great character generator for this sort of thing. And I think this mixed with this one up here, Cece or something like that. This is another great fantasy character. I think between the two of these, you could easily have a great cast, and they feel like they go with the same style too. So I like how they're looking. I think they might have been drawn by the same artist actually. So yeah, and lots of fun plays for this one. So we've got a little herbs that come out, a magic wand with a nice little poof animation there. Here's a magic book, marshmallows, or is that a wand? No, that's a wand. Sorry, it looked like marshmallows for a second there. Forget, those Harry Potter type wands sometimes have little baubles and stuff on them. A stick, shocked, angry, all these different things. So this really helps the character come to life. It's nice to see all these different things you can do with it. Make it happy or sad or whatever. And then a few different backgrounds too. Different nighttime, woods, outside, just a basic star behind them, that sort of stuff. So yeah, great puppet. This one's great. This one's Caricature. This is made by an Adobe employee named Dachi. This was my attempt at making myself the other day. So here's my version of me. But basically, you do have the ability to basically create a lot of different characters to make them look like, you might see like a caricature at an amusement park or something like fair where someone draws a caricature style picture of you. And so you can get some really interesting looking characters here. Yeah, I think I've seen this guy at Starbucks recently. Yeah, it's just fun to play around with and see, like, can I make the other people in my family? Just a bunch of different options here. We've got, let's reset to the basic one here. Different hair, different eyes, all sorts of different eye positions that can, really fit. I think I picked this one for me, a little bit more open. Eye color, glasses, all sorts of different things, nose. So yeah, you really get a lot of versatile treatment. So remember, when you generate this out, it's also going to create the Photoshop file, the PSD file. And so if I wanted to go in and add a logo to their shirt or, change the hair color slightly or something like that, I can still do that. So you do have the ability to keep going on. You can use Puppet Maker as kind of a starting point and then go a little bit further with it if you wanted to. Yeah, and also some nice motions, dance moves, getting angry, all sorts of stuff like that as usual, which is great. All right, this next one is one of my favorites. This is Fuzzy, I think is called. This has been created by David Taub, who we've featured many times. He was actually on an Adobe live stream earlier this week on the Adobe Video and Motion channel talking about it. And he's done a lot of our claymation style characters. So people like Dr. Applesmith, the scientist character that gets used a lot, and all sorts of different things. I think he's got another one in here too. Didn't he do? Oh, he did this one, Lacey, as well, which is a clay character, which is fantastic. But this character is awesome. This is just this little fuzzy mouse character, creature character, I should say, and you just can change different ears, different facial features. And it just feels like this nice physical character. And you can do all sorts of fantastic stuff with it. I love this little bunny. So I'm going to do some motions with it. So let's see what we can do here. Oh, this, I had to add a tail. Let me add a tail. There we go. And now we'll get some tail motion, I think, with some of these. Yep. There we go. Different tail motions. Going straight up like that. And then different facial features here, which you can do. Make them a little more tired, closing the eyes, rotating a little bit. And this is great. And I, of course, have all sorts of different options to change this, exactly like I want. Secondary colors, primary colors, all sorts of stuff you can do. So again, I find it like with Puppet Maker, I think it's really easy to imagine like making a cartoon show with these characters. So here's my, nice character. Here's my main character. This is the next door neighbor over here. And you just keep adding all these characters and quickly create a cast of characters and put it together for, Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff. Dan, what's making you laugh?
Who was it? It was Cat Scratch Theater described what you had up there as a rat bit. I thought that was very funny. Yep.
It does look like a rat bit. I agree. Yeah, so very fun to play around with. Yeah, and there's a bunch of other characters. I won't get into them too much. Here's another sitting character named Gigi, who is great for like video game streaming. Has the headphones, can play the remote, with the controller. And then this drummer character as well, just called Drummer, is awesome. Has a ton of different sets, has actually sound triggers built in, so you can actually really play the drums and stuff. You could hook that up to a MIDI input if you wanted to tap out some different beats. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. I feel like Puppet Maker is one of those things that we keep adding new characters and new styles to it all the time, but we don't necessarily always announce it. So if you haven't checked in a while yet, or for a while, I would say go ahead and give it a shot. Yeah, it's fun. Deckard is saying, whoa, that claymation style is amazing. Totally agree. Very cool. All the stuff you can do. Winzo Raps is saying, hey, I usually make my own characters for music video and other stuff. Are these characters royalty free? Yeah. Anything that we set out as a free example file. So whether that's in the app itself, these styles, or the things you get on the See More webpage, or the initial app, going back to here in the homepage, all of these puppets, any of those, or any on our Adobe websites /ch examples, OK Samurai puppets, totally free for you to use and do whatever you want with. No credit needed, royalty free, copyright free. Do whatever you want with them. That's why they're out there, right? They're meant to be examples for you to learn and see, okay, like I want to make a jumping character or a dancing character. Oh, this frog is actually a really good guide. So I'm going to set up my character exactly the same as this working version that I know is going well. Here's that Dr. Applesmith clay character I was talking about. Yeah, so they are totally free for you to use however you want. Absolutely. Cool. All right, so I guess we'll finish up now just with the next 15, 20 minutes, just answering questions as they come in or talking about whatever you want. It doesn't have to be character animator stuff. Dan and I play a lot of video games. Dan, what are you playing right now? What are you into?
Oh, the new Madden came out, so I trade players. It's the most pathetic thing in the world. My kid will like come down and be like, "Oh, you got the new Madden," and then I'm just like looking up salary cap things and trading people. It's really dumb, but somehow I like it.
That's amazing. So is that like there's like a manager mode or something like that? Is that how you do it? Or
yeah, and okay. Yeah, I just spend my time trading players, and yeah, it's like, uh-oh, this guy's gonna be expensive. Start shopping him on the trade block.
That is awesome. That's so cool. Awesome. Love it. Okay, let's see what people are asking here. Well, the developers add more and more animations during time, of course. The household activities category would be essential. Oh, yeah. I think I saw you post this this commenter in the beta feedback forum. So that was awesome. Thank you. So I know June, the main developer behind Motion Library, saw that and was talking about the list of potential things. So yeah, I think it's certainly a possibility that more could get added in the future. Right now, I said I think we have 370 something motions that are in part of Motion Library, but we could easily add more in the future. I think when we were initially going through them, again, we worked with the team at Mixamo to bring these 3D motions into Character Animator and make them 2D. And not all of the 3D motions translated as well to 2D as the ones that we currently have in the app. So there was a bit of a culling process there, but we could certainly search for more, and that is not to say those are the only 3D motions out there. A lot of people have said they want to make their own custom motions and add things, and we talked about that earlier in the show. So yeah, again, this is a V1. Hopefully, we will continue to improve it in the future. But yeah, it's been awesome to see. When I search for hashtag Character Animator on social media, at least one post every time is going to be a character doing Gangnam Style, the Gangnam Style dance with Motion Library. That's a guarantee. So that's been fun to see people kind of get into it and do stuff. And yeah, I saw someone do a fight scene a while back where they had the characters interacting with using all the motion trigger fight stuff. That was cool to see. So yeah, it's hopefully we'll just continue evolving in the future. Good question. Hacklab. Oh, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so something pretty natural to come out of Motion Library is, can I create my own motions? And since the origin of this is those Mixamo 3D motion data, the answer right now is no. But I hope, because I kind of understand how the back end of this works, like this developer June made sure that all of the animations flow through that body behavior, which we created for the body tracking. But I'm hoping that animations we make in the future with the body behavior, and I hope we can get like mouse animations in that too, could then be shareable in the exact same way and potentially put into the Motion Library behavior, even though they're not sourced from 3D motions, but they'd be going through the same pipeline. So I really hope we can start doing that, because the ability to make your own, you want the household animation. If you're able to make the vacuum animation yourself, then you can share that with your other puppets.
Good point. Yep. Hacklab is saying, what's the latest you stayed up creating or coding, Dan/Dave? I feel like I feel like my younger years are behind me now. Like I used to stay, like, do those 2 a.m. Bender sessions where I would just like, oh, I'm going to make like working on some videos and stuff, whatever I was working on at the time, and just stay up super late. Now I got kids, I got a dog. I can't stay up late. Like I think 11 is as late as I stay up nowadays. I do wake up early though. Usually I try to wake up sometime in the 5 to 6 a.m. range, and that's when I get most of my video game playing. Or if I am working on a specific creative project, like one of those cartoons or something like that, that's when I get a lot of that stuff done. But Dan, what about you?
Yeah, like I'm in my mid 40s. 20 years ago, routinely, I'd be seeing the sunrise as I'm like making music, and that was really fun. That the odds of that happening nowadays, like if I get a really good creative flow going, I can go to midnight or 1, but it's diminishing returns at that point. I got to try this get up early thing though, because I think they're not even young children anymore, but yeah, same thing. Dog, kids. It's like that 6 to 8 in the morning time is when you don't have other responsibilities.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why it's great. I usually am playing video games. My puppy, or she's now over 1 year old, but still call her puppy. But she'll just sit by my side, like just sit down on the couch playing games, and it's nice to do that before the craziness of where's my math homework? What's going on? You gotta take me to school. All that stuff. So. There was a quick question here. Digital Puppet says, when are you going to combine your love of puppets and musicals and make a cartoon musical? Good question. I did a while back. I was just fooling around in Adobe Fresco and made Evan Flamethrower 2, the musical. And I think if I ever do an Evan Flamethrower 2, I think it would be a musical version. Because I think that would be so crazy and weird, and have robots singing. And Dan, since you do all the voices, do you have a good singing voice? How's your singing voice?
I can work it out. Yeah.
All right. So stay tuned for that.
I'm dying to do like a puppet musical. So whether or not the voice is good or not, you can't shake me off.
Yeah. I know. It's after you see something like Hamilton, you're like, oh man, I wish I was that talented. I wish I could do something like that. That's amazing. I don't think Evan Flamethrower 2, the musical, will be on par with Hamilton, but
don't sell yourself short, man.
Yeah, we'll try. Is Hamilton a robot detective? I don't think so. So, let's see. Hey Dave, I want to say thanks for the Red Monster guy. I made a video with him, What is Trauma? Psychoeducation for Kids. Therapists use this video a lot, and hopefully it's helping kids. That is awesome to hear. That is so cool. Number one, it's always awesome when one of the template characters, when you see them used, all over, and people kind of get attached to them. And I totally agree. I think cartoons, just animated characters, just immediately make something friendly and approachable, and just serve as a really good storytelling device and character that people can kind of latch onto. Like for explainer style videos, I think it's way stronger to have a little animated character down there talking through things as kind of a host or a narrator, as opposed to like a disembodied voice that you just see things, videos or whatever, motion graphics flashing, and you don't have anyone to connect the voice to. So that is awesome to hear. That's great. And I hope, that we can continue giving you more characters and be able to see more of that type of stuff. And I love hearing stories like that. We do hear that a lot of, hey, I've never done anything with animation before. My kid is interested in animation, and now they're doing this for a book report, or they're doing this for a school play or something like that. It's awesome to hear stories like that. So, yeah. Let's see. Yep. We're talking more about importing animations would be awesome, adding a lot of diversity and complexity. If you can use my eating animation and then I can import it and use the sleeping animation you made, it's a win-win scenario. Totally agree. That would be awesome. And that would just give, like, we have all these community things that people have really done a great job of, puppets being the biggest example, right? There are plenty of people that have free puppets on their website or sell puppets on their website or do puppet creation services. And that's been awesome to see that ecosystem be created. Wouldn't that be awesome if we opened up Motion Library one day and you could do the same thing for like those types of motions? Here's my indoor cooking pack. Here's my, ninja pack. Here's my whatever of all your different animations. And that would be, yeah, I agree. That would be awesome. That would really open up the door to a lot of cool stuff. So great point. I wanted to mention too, Adobe Max is coming up. That is next month, I believe, mid to late October. I forget what the exact dates are, but Dan and I will both be there. So if you are in the area, definitely reach out and come by and say hi. There should be a character animator station somewhere on like the main show floor, I think. So Dan or I will always be there. I think one of us is contractually obligated to be part of that. But I'll also be doing a talk on creating videos for social media using Character Animator, and there will be a in-person version of that, I think, on the Wednesday of Max, and then there'll also be a virtual session as well. So anyone can register for Max, just tune in and check out the virtual session as well. It'll be a little less hands-on. I think it's like a 25-minute one as opposed to a 50-minute one in the in-person one, but I already recorded it. It's already sent out. It's done. And I hope I did a good job on it. So I will promote that on, Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. Excuse me, when it happens in the future. But yeah, definitely look out for that. DJ Silver Knight says, this live has started a fire for me. Thank you. And then gives the alarm symbol 100, 100. Awesome. That is great to hear. Yeah, it's fun to see what people are creating with it. Sojo Animation is saying, Dave, you've completely shifted my workflow and income. I've just bought my first house, and I wouldn't be in this position without your videos, so thank you. Wow, that's awesome. So wait, you made enough money to buy a house with like a dancing frog or something like that? That's amazing. That's so cool. That's great. Wow, what job are you doing? I wanna join you. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, in all seriousness, that's great. I love hearing that. Like, because I feel the same way, right? Animation was not something I ever felt I could do before Character Animator. I tried animation, and I say this in the talk. You'll see this in the virtual session thing or in-person session. Like, I tried to animate. I tried really hard, and I would try it in After Effects, and all my characters would be really clunky and robotic and be like, hello, how are you doing? And because I didn't know what I was doing. It didn't look natural. It didn't look good. And now with Character Animator, it's really opened the door to the world of animation and let me realize, okay, actually, I do have all these ideas and characters swirling around in my head that I want to put out there. And I think like if you saw the Pivotal Moments thing that I did recently, that was for an internal Adobe design thing we did here. And usually it's just someone just talking and going through some slides like PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever, XD. But I wanted to make it like just completely animated and ridiculous and like unexpected. So I think it's fun to add animation into places where you normally don't see animation. So if you're presenting a company or talking to a friend or doing a live stream, there's all sorts of cool stuff you can do with that. And it's a lot of fun to do. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad. I think the world of animation is awesome. It's a world where you can keep learning and keep getting better. I look back at the first videos I made with Character Animator and just start to cringe because I was so limited or I didn't know what I was doing. My characters are moving all over the place instead of a pose to pose style look or that sort of thing. My mouths are all over the place. But as I've gotten through it, I've gotten better and better, I hope, and just makes that next video. Every next video, you're going to be better and better. So the best thing to do is just start making stuff and putting it out there in the world and, seeing what happens. So, yeah, lots of good questions here. Is there Lemon Top is saying, is there an A to Z online class for Character Animator? I want to learn everything about it. Not really yet. I mean, we are not as established and, old as the Photoshops and the Premieres and After Effects of the world. So honestly, the best place to start is probably the tutorials page. And if you are on the homepage of Character Animator, that robot in the upper right corner that says Try Online Tutorials, click on that. And the intro to Character Animator, I think with Chloe, the character on the front, the girl character on front, to me, that is the best starting point. It's about 45 minutes, but it's going to run you through all the basics of what you need to do about how things work, what the different panels are, and then recording your first simple animation and how that can connect to other applications like After Effects or Premiere if you want to do things like that. And I think that's the best foundation to start from. And then you can grow. Okay, I want to rig my own characters. Okay, there's a rigging tutorial. I want to use Adobe Fresco to draw my own characters. There's a tutorial for that. I want my characters to do head turns or walking or full body tracking. All those tutorials are out there that go more in depth. So I say start with that intro video and then kind of grow as you want based off of those other things. But yeah, I think it would be great. Like I would love to do like a, here's a 6-part series of everything to know in Character Animator and just go through it and treat it kind of like a college class and do it. I think something like that would be really cool. Have worksheets, have handouts, that sort of thing that they could help with that sort of thing. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. Any other questions that you've seen, Dan, that have stood out?
No, I'm following pretty good. I'd like to know what toe roll is. Oh, like a
Oh yeah,
foot bend. Got it.
something
Yeah,
like
so
that.
the previous walk behavior had that. I think that ground detection actually should create toe bend if you have proper ankle, heel, and toe rigging.
Yep, good point. The help forum is active and friendly. Yeah, if you haven't, go to the Adobe, if the community forums. I think it's adobe.com/go/ch feedback. I go on that at least a couple times a week to try to help people, and then there's a ton of other people that are there that'll answer your question, or you can search for answers that have previously happened. So you're getting an error code or something like that, type it in the search box. You will probably find a solution for it somewhere there. Haggis is saying, is there an actual manual to follow? There is a help section. If you go to on Character Animator and click on help, that'll take you to kind of the basics of, and there's kind of a website site that will go through all in glorious detail about everything you need to learn about with Character Animator. So I would say that's kind of the online manual for this. But yeah. Deckard is saying, is there a Discord for Character Animator? No, we haven't done that. I don't think Adobe has rules about like what we can and can't do with these kind of official or unofficial things. So if someone wants to start something, go for it. I've been hanging out a lot actually on Reddit, the subreddit for Character Animator /r/Character Animator. That's been a great source for answering questions, for people sharing the work that they've done. That's something that we don't really do in the community forums as much as people sharing the kind of stuff they've done. But on Reddit, that's what a lot of people do. And that's been awesome to see and comment and kind of get inspired by all the cool stuff that people are doing. So yeah, definitely check that out. Let's see. Geeky Gamer is saying, I love Adobe Fresco. Agreed. I love it so much. It's a great app. Definitely fun to play around with. Quick robot rigging question. When you want your elbow to hinge without morphing, how do you rig? My upper arm is separate than forearm. So this is something that couldn't be done for a while. And then I think I tried it, and then one day it was working, right? Remember this, Dan? The carrot, like the hinge.
I was shocked.
Yeah. So if you DM me later, I can send you an example character of this. But basically what you do is, I believe, you make a forearm that's independent, or make the bicep that's independent group. And then inside there, you make the forearm that's independent. And then you move the origin. So this is, I'm doing a terrible job of this, but this is your origin for the forearm is here. Your origin for the bicep is here. And then, yeah, look at those guns. And then you, this live stream's going downhill the last few minutes. And then you set them both to hinge. And I think if you add a dragger then in the hand, it should allow you to get that hinge motion without actually morphing the arm. I've also seen people do hacks where they get this really nice rubber hose type feature. And Dan, you were fooling around with that recently, right? Was this with leader follower, or how are you doing this exactly?
So yeah, if you want like the rubber hose style animation arms, that was always a little hard to do. And we figured out that if you have a bunch of handles in the whole arm mesh, And then you need to tag them with an unused tag, because when we tag things, it changes the mesh. So you really want like a really dense mesh. So I use the magnet tag because I wasn't using the magnet feature. And then that creates a ton of little triangles, and it means when you look at these guns, and then when you move this hand, the whole thing will bend. So if you want that classic 1920s Disney look, which we've got a puppet coming pretty soon that looks like that.
True.
You can get that.
Yep. Great point. Cool. Well, that is our time for today. There's still so many questions in the chat. So Dan, I think we got to do another one of these pretty soon. It seems like there's enough interest out there and enough questions that people want answered. And they also want to hear about our amazing video game tips of how to buy characters in Madden and how to die 100 million times in Elden Ring. So we just got to keep this going for the people, for the people. Yeah,
it's true. I also got to up my live streaming game because I know a lot of tricks, and I'm just like a dumb face in the window. It could be so much more dynamic than that.
Maybe we'll do an animated version next time or something like that. We'll figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you so much for watching, whether live or on the replay. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks for using Character Animator. If you have questions, the best place to get help, as always, adobe.com/go/chfeedback. That's the best place to go. And if you share your work and create it, definitely put hashtag Character Animator on it when you're sharing on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those types of places. And then check out that subreddit /r/Character Animator. Another great place to share your work. I got to go get working on a community spotlight tutorial, new one. So let's get started with that. But Dan, thanks for sticking with me today. Where can people get in touch with you or follow you and your stuff?
Yeah, good question. I'm at Nice Nelly here on YouTube. You can actually email me. I'll maybe regret this the next time, but dramirez@adobe.com. And those are the two best things. That at Nice Nelly, I think, works on Twitter, though I never check it.
There you
Who knows what'll happen.
So if you actually want your questions answered, that's the way to go. All right. So maybe we'll try to do one of these closer to the max time frame and see how things are going, or maybe in a couple weeks. I don't know. We'll see our schedules, what works. But thank you so much again for watching today. Have a great weekend, 3-day weekend if you're in the United States. Memorial. Oh, you doing anything fun for the weekend, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to the woods, and I'm going to be running a chainsaw and doing that kind of thing.
I'm glad I asked. I'm glad Dan has all these security camera videos that he sends, that he posts to our channel, to the internal Slack channel we've got here, of like bears just walking across and his wooded area over there. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah, mountain lion too.
Oh, mountain lion. That's right. Yeah. Ah, good stuff. So anyway, again, I've tried to end this show like 20 times and it hasn't worked, but this live streaming stuff, so I'm new to it. I'm not that good at it. So hopefully we'll improve in the future. But anyway, thank you everyone again for watching. We will see you next time, and take care. Bye.